92.7, your go with a Flow radio station. Monday, 25th of August 2025. Hope you had a great weekend. It's Monday morning, so let's discuss, debate, and talk about some of the biggest stories that happened over the weekend. Some happened over the weekend, some sad stories, and some interesting, encouraging stories as well too, that journalists have been trailing in the custom. We had the opportunity to bring it to you at 7 o'clock on the headline news, trending national headlines, and we did promise to return at 8, and now we're here to discuss, debate, and analyze some of those stories. Nicholas Uwerunonye is live in the studio this morning to provide analysis to some of these stories, and then you also have a chance to bring any other story outside of what we're talking about on the program so we can discuss it and analyze it together. And you also have a chance, if you don't have any other story outside of this, you want to pass comment on any of the stories on the table, please, you're absolutely free. But please note that if you must share any other story, well, it must be from credible sources and it must be verifiable. You're absolutely free to make your comment. Tell us your name, where you're calling from, and go straight to the point. My name is Adeyemi.
And I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey. Thank you for joining us on the analysis this morning. Good morning to you, Nicholas.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
How's the weekend as well?
Well, so.
And your trip down here?
Well.
Okay, great. The views to be expressed is not in any way the position of FlowFM 92.7 or the staff therein, but is expressed by our in-house analyst, Nicholas Uwerunonye, who'll be analyzing some of the stories for us this morning. Also, this is to remind you that we're streaming live on YouTube and on Facebook at FlowFM 927, so you can get on any of these apps and get on live action happening in the studio right now. Let's get into the stories.
Let's pick up from this story and a very sad event that happened over the weekend, somewhere around Igbejila. But again, this is not to put fear in the minds of the people, but at least to be able to do a job as journalists, and of course, get the reaction, and of course, the comment coming from the Commissioner of Police, and of course, I'm saying to the people that please have no fears around it on top of the situation. It's a very, very sad one, and it has to do with a lady that was murdered by the younger brother's, husband's younger brother.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a terrible thing because ironically, it happened a stone throw away from my house.
Wow.
I believe that I broke that story. I put it on the platform because it happened, I got to hear of the story on Friday, and, it was discovered on Thursday morning, and nothing as yet. So it was when I came back home, and, in fact, there was typical of Nigerian community, multi-ethnic, community, has been a lot of finger pointing and stereotyping. For me being, intermarriage, I married a Yoruba woman. Things like that, I'm always very sensitive about it because I don't want anything to hurt the relationship in my home. So what I did was to see if I could, tap into my, police contact and get the true nature of the story. And as it turned out, it was, there were a lot of errors in the reporting. Of course, as usual of Nigeria, when things like that happen, you hear all manners of outlandish stories. You hear accusations and counter-accusations being leveled at people that are purely innocent, so far. It is quite sad. If you recall, when we reported this story about, when we talked about this Abdurrahman Bello's case, I did say that, in as much as I give kudos to the investigative agency, I think a thorough job has not been done. Because you see, when you look at things like that, you see that this we are talking about, it suggests of a syndication kind of. You see, when you pick the foot soldier, you understand, who are they selling the body parts to? Because from the stories that we gathered, the woman was dismembered, just like the case of Hafsa. You see a clear pattern there. So the question is, what are they doing with it? So I must equally commend the police, for coming out to, tell the public to not to spread any kind of alarm, and that is the essence of what we are doing here. Yes, crime happens, but it doesn't mean we should allow it go out of hand because of the specter of, the thing repeating itself, or, that it's no longer in control, but the most important thing is that we should try as much as possible be like, the case of the one of the neighbors who saw something suspicious and reported. You understand? Because ordinarily it would have been a fait accompli. It would have been, he would have cleanly gotten away. Because it was a vigilant neighbor, who saw the person in face cap with a nose mask, and then said,
in an unusual manner.
Look, we know that Madame is here. Why are you locking the door? He said, she's tired and things like that. Then he saw her holding, he saw the person who clutching, a black nylon bag. That was where they became suspicious, and they saw that what was dripping from that was blood. So he alerted the head of the community, some of the local community heads, and that was when the police was called in. The police came in immediately. In fact, we must commend the Budonuhu Divisional Police, headquarters, Divisional Police post, at along Airport Road. The manner in which they came in was swift. You understand? And from what I gathered from eyewitnesses, they came with videos and things like that. It's not the kind of usual crime fighting, detecting thing that we used to know. It was thorough, and the manner in which I don't want to go into details on how they got this, the primary suspect, but the way they did it showed that these are very mature people. And I got to learn later that the police took their time, because you see, the shock of it, because when they described what the husband felt, that at some point they had to be holding him, because the man could just give up, So, and, how they really got him, how he cooperated to get the alleged, the suspect over to the position shows a lot of maturity, because somebody in that state of mind will be blank. But how they were able to do that shows, kudos must be given to the police, And again, this is me urging our, the public, members of the public to, this stereotyping does a lot of harm to us. We might think that we are hurting the other person, but it cuts really deep. Because I don't want to say a lot of things that we are said, because, my woman came home very, very disturbed. Because it was more or less like, and particularly people that were from that section of the country, you see them huddling in groups and talking, and it was more like, it was something that was very, very, disturbing. It was a very disturbing weekend for most of us. And again, I want to equally urge journalists too, that, I would have expected the kind of, media barrier that you saw in the case of Abdurrahman happen here. But I think people have been measured in reporting that story. Because at the end of the day, it was the publicity that made all relevant agencies to come in, and even the state government to insist that they are interested in, getting to the root of that matter. And that's why we got strict justice instead of, So, but if we allow it to just be like that, that is the thing about Nigeria. So I would urge that the members of the public should pay particular attention to that story and follow it through, so that at the end of the day, we know exactly what happened.
All right. Well, it's a very sad one.
It was a sad one.
And of course, some of us, commend the police like you mentioned. Again, this is just to say that vigilance and crime watch is not just primarily the job of security of the security agencies. Also, the citizens also have a role to play, and that's why they say if you see something, you must say something.
Exactly.
If you see strange faces around your environment, please talk to your community leader.
Exactly,
and then they can look into it. All right, that's it.
007-777-9927 is number to call or to text to be part of the conversation this morning. Let's move to another news story. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged President Bola Tinubu to stop the revenue mobilization allocation and fiscal commission form implementing a proposed pay rise for political and public office holders, describing it as unlawful and unfair amid worsening poverty and economic hardship. Now, Kolawole Oluwadare, that's the deputy director of the organization, was arguing that the move violates constitutional principles and past court rulings, stressing that political leaders should not enjoy arbitrary increases while millions of Nigerians struggle with poor services and rising living costs, and then threatened that legal action if the plan was not suspended within 7 days.
Well, we can't say enough about this penchant to always aggrandize among our political office holder. This aggrandizement is I'm just short of words in describing them, just describing it anytime it rears its head. I think we spoke about this last time.
Yes,
we talked about it, and we said that look, at it shouldn't be at this time when sacrifice is called for that you hear stories about increasing their salaries, and we knew how difficult it was for you to even implement 100,000 naira minimum wage for Nigerian workers. It's the sheer insensitivity of it it's mind-boggling, and all these office holders, and that is, you see, what we are saying is that what we've been saying all this while is that you see, when you disincentivize aspiration into public offices, to a very large extent you get people who are keen about rendering service, getting in there. You see, it's because of the perks of that office that attracts people there. You understand? So, and it attracts all manners of people. The moment you appoint a person as an aide to the president, you appoint him as a local government chairman, he gets elected as a local government chairman or governor or things like that. The next thing is, there is this, it goes with saying that he's made for life. You understand? Exactly, that is the impression, and when they come out of office, you see them live ostentatious life. You understand? So the general impression is that even the office in itself rewards them. So why would you want to, at the expense of the ordinary taxpayers, want to add to that luxury, when other sectors of Nigerians are growing? It doesn't make sense at all, And I think that I sincerely hope Serap gets enough support, because usually, those kind of ideas don't enjoy widespread support from Nigerians who they are fighting for. That is why most times you see those kind of agitation peter out in a very short while. Because you see, people who are in office, people who are leading, know the mentality of that. They know we don't have the stamina. We don't have what it takes to sustain an agitation. You understand? So, I sincerely hope that this time around it should go beyond just talking. It should go beyond. There should be major cases of legal protests, to stop that, so that they can have a rethink that if you are coming into office, you come in to serve, not because of what you get there.
All right. With the way he stands now, I think I recall that we talked about this when this story, came through the Nigerian Labour Congress, condemning that move, for Ramfac to increase political office holders, salaries and all.
Yeah.
A few days after, we saw that, there was going to be that move to increase their salaries as well. To now, Serap is asking the president to stop, Ramfac. Can the president actually do that?
Well, I think the president has a lot of enormous power. His body language could dissuade Ramfac from doing that. That is normal. But we must understand that that agency itself is supposed to be autonomous. You understand? And I equally think that, it operates by statutes and perhaps by proposals made to it. Was there any proposal made to Ramfac about that? About that matter? Or are they just acting on basic statute that says that at so time you must review salary at so point? You understand? So, but even if there are those statutes, is it in consonance with the realities of the economic situation in Nigeria? I mean, we are talking about a situation where you're pegging minimum wage at 70,000 naira, and you are increasing salaries of people who are even believed to be in the upper echelons of the economy. It doesn't make sense. There is no balance there. There is no equity there.
All right. Let's move on. In a similar story, the senior advocate of Nigeria and human rights lawyer, Femi Falana SAN, is urging the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, FCC, to remit the 32.7 billion naira and $445,000 recovered from officials of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development to the National Social Investment Program Agency. Well, this is not this administration. It's not the first time that calls like this have come for recovered monies from the EFCC to be put into social investment programs.
You see, there is another huge controversy we're talking about. If you recall that there was this talk about relooting of the loot that were recovered, under Muhammadu Buhari's, and then within the EFCC, there has been a lot of talk about what they are doing with the loot of the so-called Yahoo boys that they are, picking. Because there is always this talk about its syndicates, involved, and they trace it to a lot of, political office holders in those days. Wonder Muhammadu Buhari. We don't want to mention names here. So that tells you that, you see, those loots being recovered are not properly managed. You see, there should be when the moment you have clear forfeitures that makes those loots, federal government, there must be effort to consciously plow it into the economy, so that the economy can work. You see, tomorrow EFCC will tell you that they have recovered 100 and something billion. What is that money doing sitting in the bank and doing nothing? If you have recovered it, have you plowed it into the economy, into some sectors of the economy that will help them benefit the masses? After all, it's our money.
Are there processes, for such monies, like, permanent forfeitures, buildings, and even, physical cash? Are there processes?
That is where we have a problem. Because, you see, I think the law doesn't envisage this manner of stealing. If you look at, our, legal statutes and the rest of them, there is always a gap somewhere that this, agencies, exploit. The only instance where you have something like that happening is with the police. When they have seized properties, they put it, the auction.
Auction, right?
Yeah, that is the only thing that I know.
About the customs?
The custom, even the customs too. But then they will have to hand it over to certain agencies to do that. Sometimes they do that themselves. They auction some of this, fuel being smuggled out of, the country. Sometimes they auction it and things like that. Because those ones are perishable. So that is about the only legal instance we have. But we are talking of humongous amount of money. We are talking of building worth billions and billions of naira. You understand? So how do there must be a proper agency. I think it wouldn't be too bad if something, a law is made to allow AMCON to manage such things. Because I think AMCON has done credibly well. This
asset management
company. Yeah, it's an asset of the federal government. So they should be allowed to manage things like that in such a way it helps the economy. Where are those gaps that we have, like in education, for instance, in the case of health? The other day we were talking about education. We were talking about, the foreign standards of education. We were talking about universities who want to go on strike. You could take 100 billion from that money and, use it,
Well, talking about education and... shutting down schools. Well, the National Commission for Colleges of Education has shut down 22 illegal colleges of education across Nigeria in a nationwide clampdown on unaccredited institutions. Now, the commission, which also conducted the personal audits and financial monitoring in all 21 federal colleges of education, said that this move was part of efforts to safeguard the integrity of the sector. Remember, I think that was on Friday when we talked about how 9 new institutions have been given
private institutions,
and now we've shut down 22 illegal unaccredited ones.
Well,
what do you think about it?
No, I think it is the right call, if you ask me. The other day we were talking about the foreign standards of education.
Yeah.
And don't forget, there has been this effort at upgrading college education into university, to award their degrees in education. That was, but then, you see, in as much as we might think that the college of educations are no longer in vogue, well, I think there is a need to keep that structure in place. You see, I think one of the reasons why, the teaching profession has been collapsing over the while is because of this poor, support that you have
given to colleges of education.
NTI. Nigerian Teachers
Institute.
In Nigerian Teachers
in Kaduna State.
At some point it used to be where you go to do, to upgrade, this old teacher's certificate, TC1, TC grade 1, grade 2. That's where you used to. But I think enough effort should have been made to make that institution stronger. It would have, by now, it would have just been an equivalent of a degree awarding education, a degree awarding institution for colleges for education, instead of having to now upgrade their universities into college of education into degree awarding institutions. If we had built that, it could have just been like the open university that you have, but serving essentially for education related courses and the rest of them. But because, we have this penchant of, just allowing good institutions to rot in Nigeria, there's no maintenance, there's no sustenance, of these lofty ideas. We tend to fall, victim to things like, fake schools and the rest of them, like they are not clamping on now. 22, how did they even get to be there in the first place?
That's a big question.
That's a question. Also, what I wanted to ask is, is there a process to shutting them down because of the students that are involved? What does this mean for them?
Well, that is quite unfortunate, really, but that's a bit complex, because you see, shutting down simply means it's just like, the FCCCP thing. They come to your shop. If they see that you're doing something that is against the law, they put something there or even seal the gate. You understand? And of course, they put you on the list, and, the name is broadcast all over the country. So everybody knows. Of course, definitely the students will see it and they will know that they are wasting their time there. So
even people that have gotten to the last level of...
you see, that is one other thing that Nigeria has to manage. It's like throwing the baby away with the bathwater. Somehow, I think there should be a kind of arrangement to midwife those students into proper college of education nearby, so that they can continue, because they were seeking knowledge actually.
Right.
For sake of crying out loud.
Again, I think it's a very serious conversation. Should that be the position or the decision taken by the College of Education's commission? Rather than shutting down those colleges of education, why not give them an ultimatum to upgrade their facilities and get accredited so that these students can continue their education? Now, if this goes on for long, how do we decide how long this shutdown will be? And we're taking back those students back into the society where we have huge numbers of potential admission seekers. Again, talking about some colleges of education. We have quite a number of them that have been upgraded into universities. Let's not mention names, but of course, some you see. There's a particular one, a very popular one, Thai. If you look at those colleges of education, the purpose of setting them up is to have them produce people, teachers, and all of these things. And you see universities also having faculty of education, and then they produce graduates of education as well too. Then why do we still have this low level of teachers? Unqualified, unprofessional teachers.
Because you see, how many really go to school because they want to be teachers? That is the first question. Because they see teachers as a non-lucrative vocation. So people don't go there. So when you see people go into education to acquire perhaps a double honors, it is not with intention to be a teacher, mostly. Yeah. Like, say, for instance, you get somebody who read B.Ed English, for instance. I can bet it that, 8 out of 10 will prefer to put that English into either journalism, book publishing, or advertisement, or things like that.
Customer service.
Customer service, anything but going to school to teach. You understand? So that is the reason why we still have low numbers of teachers.
Then how do we upgrade those colleges of education? Because if you look at this is a fact, it's a national problem.
No, it is.
If you compare the graduates from universities, their level of intelligence, I'm sorry, but again, if you look at the competence, you can measure a bit from the universities that have faculty of education. If you go across colleges of education,
it's not the same.
It's not the same thing. So it says there is a clear division of the enrollees into those colleges of education that eventually come out as teachers.
You know what? Okay, let me see if I understand what you're saying. You see, this is what I think is the problem. You see, you will always get a difference in the university because the university system, as the name implies, it's a universal thing. It is more of it's intellect. How am I going to put it? It's intellectual base. You see, it opens you to a variety of knowledge at the same time.
Research.
It grooms both the brain, the hands, and so. So when you come out, you are more obeyed. than the average college education thing. Then again, look at the qualification. The qualification is lower than what you have. So most times you have people who could not make it because they couldn't make the cut because of their level of, their results. They go into college education. And of course, you have to talk about the quality of teachers you have in the college
In the
education
colleges too.
You see, those are the issues. How well trained are they? Because in those days, college education used to be very, very sound. I can still remember.
We still remember a few of them, yes.
So they used to be very sound. But what happened? What happened was that you see a lot of college education lecturers migrating to the university system after some time, because that is the big thing. That's where the big money is. That's where you have more prospect. But in the case of the college education, it kept on stagnating. So definitely, whatever product comes out of there will be, it's the same thing. It's a reflection of the kind of quality of, teaching they had there. So that is why there's this effort to upgrade them into degree awarding, institutions.
0807-777-9927. Again, 0807-777-9927. We have a comment from Facebook, but before we do that, let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Danielle.
Good morning to you, Mr. Davids. Please go ahead with your comment. Yes, Mr. Davids. Please go ahead with your comment real quick.
Yes. You see, I want to talk on the issue of this closure of 21, that's about 23 years, College of Education. You see, the federal government they should look at the impact, the negative impact that it will have on the students and the resources that have been put there by the parents. If those who establish those schools have never done the right thing, they should please allow them to do the right thing. That's number one. Then number two, on the issue of quality of teachers that we are having this time around, you see, until when we go back to the basics, in our own days, in the 80s, we have teachers' college where teachers were groomed. That is the basic thing at that time. From there, you graduate, you move into College of Education. But these days, when you just have every dick and Harry going to College of Education to study, it's because of College of Education, you are studying business study, accounting, this and that. You see, we should go back to the basic. The teachers' college and the technical colleges should be looked into, so that the Nigerian education and other things will come into proper. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
For your comment. Let's quickly take this comment from Facebook. And this is Dr. Mrs. Omar Libara from Owerri. She's talking about the news story of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar saying that his political ambition is not about desperation to become Nigeria's president, but working towards a better and secure, prosperous country. She says, let Atiku support Peter Obi if he really means well for Nigeria. Power belongs to the people, and they will determine who will lead them in 2027. May God grant us leaders with love of God and mankind, leaders who march on gold in search of honor, leaders with love and fear of God. Peter Obi stands as the light set to bring Nigeria out of the quagmire we found ourselves in. God will see us through.
All right. Anyways, the program is not allowed to make any form of campaign for any other person. Nigerians have the power and will decide. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Our time is fast spent. We're unable to take any more calls, but thank you so much for trying to call and for calling as well. We'll be back to your ears tomorrow from 8 o'clock to 8:30, God willing. The views expressed is not in any way the position of FlowFM 92.7 of the staff therein, but is expressed by our in-house analyst, Nicholas Uwerunonye. I'm Danielle Shitta-Bey.
And I am Adedayo Adeyemi. Thank you for joining us. Have a good morning.
And beyond. One station keeps you locked in, no matter where you are. Non-stop vibes, non-stop hits. This is FlowFM 92.7.
Good morning, Ilorin. You know what time it is. Wake up with us and get your day started right.
We've got the hottest headlines, trending topics, and the music you love back to back. You already know we keep it fun, fresh, and real. Mid-mornings with us, you won't want to miss it.
We bring the energy, the laughs, and of course the tunes that get you through the day.
Afternoon on Flow FM is where the culture lives. Music, entertainment, and all the gist that you need.
And if it's trending, you already know they're talking about it.
Stay locked in, Ilorin. It's Flow FM, baby.
The night's young, the vibes are right, and we are flowing past midnight. You ready to chill? Let's go.
Listen anytime, anywhere. Stream us live, call us, send us a WhatsApp message. We're just a tap away. Flow FM 92.7.